the
He
strongest,
doesn't have the size for that.
and this is really his first full offseason where he got to get stronger and instead of, worrying about his health. So it's going to be interesting. Hopefully he continues to develop into something, but overall, we have this conversation all the time, man. Those 3 second-round draft picks, talking about Sainristil, Sinnott, and Newton, if you don't hit on all of those guys, it potentially can set your franchise back in terms of what
Right.
your people saying about first-round picks all the time. If you miss, you had 9 picks in that 2024 draft, and
Yes.
there are not a lot of immediate contributors. And I know we're all happy about Mikey Sainristil from a ball production standpoint, but this stretch right here is what I want to see.
It's also, I think we're past this
Yeah.
idea of immediate. They've had 2 years.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you would think it's one thing if they weren't producing at a super high clip by week 4 of last year.
Right.
You're transitioning to the NFL. This is all very new to you, but you're now a complete 2 seasons, or just about a complete 2 seasons into your career in the NFL. And I think Mikey's a little bit different because he leads the team in interceptions. He's a ball hawking guy. Does he play perfect coverage? No, but most people don't in the NFL. But you can at least trust him to an extent. With Newton and Ben Sinnott, you're still just kind of I don't know what is trustworthy here versus what is not. I mean, Sinnott can block his ass off. We know that. But eventually, you're going to have to catch some passes. And when they're going to John Bates over you, that's not a great sign.
No.
Because John Bates is a premier blocking tight end.
And that's why all of this is interesting. Is why we're super critical of everything that they've done to this point. Because some things don't make sense, right? The calculation of bringing both Bates and Ertz back this year, if you really believed in Ben Sinnott, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I just think it's going to be fascinating to watch. The Mikey Sainristil piece is interesting to me, and I mentioned it a couple of moments ago. I want to see him against the premier wide receivers in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
This is a division that has some of the best wide receiver duos. We know the Giants have Malik Neighbors coming back next year, healthy. If they can add, somebody next to him, then they become even more dangerous. You have to find 2 legitimate outside corners here. And right now, for me, the jury is still out about whether or not Mikey Sainristil is one of those guys. Because if you had to go into next year with Sainristil and Amos as your starting outside corners,
it's not.
Do you trust that?
It's not the most enticing thing in the world.
It's not.
Is there something he can do today to give you more of a reason to be okay with that?
Dan Quinn's been talking about playing aggressive, and I think that comes in all different shapes and sizes, right? That's being physical at the line of scrimmage, coming down, sticking your face in there on run fits. But I think there's what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of a inmates run the asylum thing at the cornerback spot in terms of how far they're lining up off the line of scrimmage. Dan Quinn's kind of alluded to that here in the last couple of pressers, saying he wants them to decrease the cushion. We always talk about it. Why are they lined up so far off the football? It's starting to sound like it's a them thing. They're making that choice, and I get it because you don't want to get beat over the top, but you're not going to be able to produce the ball the way that they want to if you're not being physical and challenging guys at the catch point.
And that's one of those things that's alarming.
Yeah.
Because
strange, because we've been talking about this ever since they came.
Them thing. At no point did any coach step up and be like, "Hey guys, you need to get closer."
Yeah.
You need to get closer to the line of scrimmage for the style of football that we are attempting to play. It would be very beneficial if you do this. So no one telling them that is a little alarming. Yeah, that's a
yeah. I don't look. I'm just going based off of what Dan Quinn is saying. He wants them to be more aggressive and eat up some more cushion. There are rules normally in a defense, right? And when we're in this coverage, we're 5 to 7 yards off the ball. When it's this down in distance, we're this far off the ball. There's no consistency with our guys. We always feel like
it always feels like they're way too far. And I think the perfect example of this was in that Minnesota game.
Yeah.
Where they're about 12 yards off the line of scrimmage, and Justin Jefferson catches an underneath route that he then takes 13 yards for a first down. I think that's a really good personification or example of that. That's something that needs to be fixed. And that I feel like is, in a weird sense, the amalgamation of what the season has been. In a vacuum, that's not a big thing. You just make an adjustment.
Right.
But it sure feels like there's a hell of a lot of little things
that add up.
That just keep stacking and stacking and stacking. And now you're looking at a burger that's to the ceiling with all of these little things that are stacked on top of it. How no one is telling them, hey, we're going to adjust the way we're doing things.
This was crazy because you noticed it last week when Antonio Hamilton comes in. He's playing closer to the line of scrimmage. He's got a confidence, I guess, in himself to not get beat deep. So I don't know. I would love if someone asked that question.
Do you want to see? This is going to be a crazy question.
Yeah.
Do you want to see him play well again today?
I don't know how much of an opportunity he's going to get because Jonathan
Mhm.
Jones is back. So I don't know if that'll allow Jones to stay on the outside and kick Noah. I like Noah.
I like Noah, too.
That's the guy to me that I don't understand, like, what he did and why he was in the doghouse. But, like, he was serviceable last year for you as a starter.
They wanted to trade him.
And they wanted to remember the
At the
preseason.
end of at the end of training camp, there were rumors that they wanted to trade. They were asked for like a sixth,
which is
next to nothing.
Exactly.
The reason I asked that about
Mhm.
Antonio Hamilton is because he's 32, and I don't
honestly
want to
ridiculous.
hitch the ride to the wagon because a guy plays good, at the end of the season consecutively, and this would be playing well against Philadelphia. It would be
these
very
receivers
different,
are different.
than
Yeah.
playing well against New York. I don't know that I want to hitch the wagon to a 32-year-old if he ends up really balling and be like, well, we got to bring him back. Like he's been the missing part to this whole thing. So that's a weird scenario to be in. But I was happy for him last week
Yeah,
because
of course.
that was one of the best games of his career.
You got to build a room, right? So I get that. You want to probably have 5 or 6 corners on your 53. He's auditioning for other teams as well. I don't know if he ends up coming back here. I think it's a good story. The bigger thing for me right now in the secondary is like the 2 guys that I think have the 3 guys, I guess, that have a legitimate future here to me are Jonathan Jones, Mikey, and Noah right now. Jonathan Jones missed last week due to injury. He has played well when he's played this year. I think he's their fastest corner in terms of like deep speed and things of that nature, being able to stick with quicker guys. It's ironic because he's the oldest guy in the room and he's the fastest. It's pretty strange.
It is
but
odd.
like we've seen that when we've watched him play too. Like
Yeah.
he's not getting beat deep. He's always in phase. It feels like people are gonna hate me. I would be comfortable bringing him back next year, letting him compete for a job, so on and so forth. Like that. We want to get younger, yes, but you can't roll out 53 puppies either. That's the
Right.
other piece of this thing, right? Like
There
you're
needs
gonna
to be a
have
balance.
you're gonna have some veteran guys on your roster no matter what, and I think he is the perfect guy for Mikey Sanders still to have around because I think Mikey's a good athlete. I think there are some tricks to the trade being a second-year corner that he just doesn't have yet, and maybe Jonathan Jones is someone that can help him, continue to further that. But right now, as far as Mikey is concerned, like this 3-week stretch is huge.
It's huge for him. I would love to see Jonathan Jones be a mentor. Do we know that he is? Like with Von Miller, we know that Von Miller he's here to chase some records and chase some top 10s. But he's also been very open on his podcast and in various hits that he does with the Junkies on a weekly basis and in other scrums that he does with the media. He's been very open about also wanting to teach young players. Now, a lot of those young players got hurt and they don't have like a young superstar, right? So like there's no one really to teach.
If only they could have drafted him.
If only they could have drafted him. But Ruben Bain looks good. So
Yeah.
I liked it. But is Jonathan Jones that in that DB room? It feels like he is like this. He kind of flies under the radar a little bit. If you're super locked into the team, you're very aware of who Jonathan Jones is. If you are, maybe you only listen during Sundays while you're driving to the game or hanging out in the parking lot. Maybe you're not up to the day-to-day operations in Ashburn. But is he like a leader like that? Do we know?
I'm not sure. I would say that there's anytime you got hardware in a locker room that's like relatively young outside of some like key veterans, I think it matters. Like his voice is going to matter. He's seen a lot. He's been in New England. He's won at a high level. I think there's an automatic respect and an instant respect that comes just with the credentials that he has. But I couldn't tell you if he was like it doesn't strike me as a rah-rah, be in your face type of dude, but I think he's serviceable. I think he's someone that's done it at a high level in this league. So having him around, I think there's nothing wrong with it. And he doesn't cost you much either.
I've been impressed by what he's done. All right, when we get back, we spend a lot of time on the defense. Let's spend some time on the offense. Kevin Sheehan's going to join us at 4:30, but what should the game plan be for Washington offensively going up against a Philadelphia Eagle defense that is going to be without one big menace in the middle in Jalen Carter? We answer that question when we get back. He's Lynnell Willingham. I'm Denton Day. It's a Burning Gold pregame show. It's the Burgundy Gold pregame show with Denton Day and Lynnell Willingham. Kevin Sheehan with us in 10 minutes. We talked a lot about defense, Lynnell, and what we want to see mainly from Mikey Sanders still going up against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and maybe some adjustments and some changes that we'd like to see. Offensively against New York last week, they played awesome because they ran the football.
Right.
And they were committed to running the football. We saw the reemergence of Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. So long as he holds the football, he's a pretty good running back. Did Cliff crack something last week, understanding that you can be successful with Marcus Mariota only completing 10 passes?
Cliff, it shouldn't be something that he's just now figuring out. We've known that this is who this group is all year long for whatever reason, and this even goes back to last year. Their run game at times has been what really gets the offense kickstarted. It opens up play action. It takes guys or forces guys in the box. It creates matchup advantages for you on the perimeter. This idea, the way that you put it kind of just triggered me. Okay, saying that he cracked the code, like, because I hear what you're saying, like, but no, like they know this is who they are. Like,
it's a code that should have been cracked a
long time ago. Yeah,
it's one of those codes that you crack when you're telling us the code,
you know,
and then you actually go out there and try and crack it and you forget.
Yeah,
you're like,
Minnesota.
Wait a second. Yeah, like you spoke out the equation. Yeah. I had a teacher when I was in high school that would give us quizzes, and he would help us prepare for the quiz by literally going before the quiz, question by question,
with the quizzes,
and giving us the answer to everything. And then we would take the quiz. Yeah. And there were still people that messed up. It kind of felt like that's what the offense has been at times this year, where Cliff is telling you all of the answers to the test. And then by the time test time comes around, he has riddlingly bad test anxiety and cannot do anything.
That's a good way to put it. Maybe that's a more appropriate thing for us to say now. He's got test anxiety.
He has test anxiety.
He has the answers to the test. He knows what he's doing, but for whatever reason, when game day comes, he won't run the football. They have to. And I think it's the only way that they're going to be able to move the football. I think it opens up everything. If you ask this pass game with Marcus Mariota at the helm to just get into a straight drop back mode, I mean, they're going to get swallowed alive, even without Jalen Carter being in the game.
I mean, that's a losing scenario.
Yeah, it's just not who they want to be. I think what's fascinating today about the run game in particular, one, just a couple of weekends ago, Philadelphia got totally punched in the mouth by Chicago. Combinung guy, DeAndre Swift and company ran for over 250 yards. That's without, because Caleb Williams wasn't really a threat on the ground in that game. You now add Marcus Mariota to an equation where you've got two other, more than very capable backs. I think it makes life difficult for Philadelphia. That's what Washington should try to do. I think both of these teams are going to try to come out and run the football. I think this is going to be a quick game is the best way that I can put it. Maybe 2 hours at the max. Like, I think both these teams are going to try to run it. But for Washington, like, you continue to say, like, it's who you are. And this is kind of why I'm pissed that Jaden isn't playing. I wanted them to treat the Final Four. One, he should be playing. I think we all know it. They're just being overly precautious of protective of him, and I get it.
Adrenaline is a hell of a drug.
Yeah. Nice answer, 5.
Yeah.
I want to see them really live and adopt a under center mentality, because the last 3 games, going back to Denver, is what I would say. They have run it under center more than we've seen them do it all year, and they're still dead last in the NFL in under center attempts. But you're seeing it be a part of their offense here moving forward, and that's what I want to see here down the stretch. Can you add a layer to this thing that you can, build to your passing game next year and add to your passing game next year?
They need to.
Yeah.
Because I want to see them, Philadelphia, offensively, that's been the headline for them because they haven't been good on offense. They haven't really been all that impressive on defense either.
No.
For a team that won the Super Bowl without blitzing, and that defensive front was so good that they annihilated the Chiefs' front line with just 4 guys for the entire Super Bowl. They've been a relatively average defense. Now, I still think they have good players on the outside. Quinyon Mitchell versus Terry is going to be fun. Cooper DeJean, who is apparently a stud off the field. Him against
what do you think
Debo
about
could
that,
be
man?
fun. I mean, Cooper DeJean and Nicky Bella. I was like,
that's something, right?
Nicky Bella's robbing the cradle. That is Cooper DeJean. But I mean, go get it, son. Go get that Cougar. That Cougar lifestyle. Not everyone can do it, but if you get the opportunity, you might as well try.
Oh, Cooper.
Hopefully that's the biggest win that he gets today. But, you'll see those guys matched up a bunch. But I think because you don't feel maybe the greatest about those matchups, you're still going to run the football a ton. And I think Bill proved last week that he should be getting more carries. You just got to hold the football.
It's a big thing with him. And Cliff, once again, was asked about him this week and goes back to the pass pro stuff. I think that's really the thing that's keeping him from being on the field more often. He can't be a liability in that department. But we were talking about this during the week. Like, knowing the game that Bill had, do you expect him to ride the hot hand today, or does C-Rock come back and just get the lion's share of the carries? Because when Bill's going and it's going well, it looks better than what Chris Rodriguez
There
does.
is a smoothness to it.
You know?
It's very easy on the eyes.
Yeah, I
watching
love the way
Bill
that you put it, yeah.
run. Now, Chris Rodriguez is a maniac.
Yeah.
It feels like he just wants contact.
Pretty much.
I want to run you over. So, him being back, I do think he's going to get more carries.
I think the way the Phillies defending the run, though, I think both of them can really wear you down. I think right now for Philly, I hate to say this about the big bad Eagles, but it's a toughness issue up front. It's the same personnel. There's no reason why their run defense isn't playing better. And now without Jalen Carter being in there, can you win on the interior? And one thing we haven't talked about with the offense, Brandon Coleman's going to have a big opportunity today, too, getting the start in place of Laramie Tunsil. Cliff Kingsbury said he thinks he has the potential to be a high-end starter, which is like crazy praise, at both tackle and guard. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does. I kind of hope Laramie doesn't play again the rest of the way. I wanted to get a good long look at Brandon Coleman, and I was not, what's the word I'm looking for, maybe. I didn't have the stones to say this during the week, but I'll say it here. Say Brandon Coleman plays well down the stretch at left tackle, Denton.
Yes.
And April rolls around and you get a king's ransom.
Yes.
For Laramie Tunsil.
Yes.
You pull the trigger. That's what's interesting to me about this.
Now, let's just be clear. It has to be a king's ransom.
First plus.
Like first plus,
yes.
Right? Because Tunsil's going to demand a lot of money.
Yeah.
And now, in fairness, I mean, left tackle is a very tough position to go all-pro in the NFL because there's a lot of really good ones. But he's had a really good season.
Yeah.
He has by far been the best offensive player on this year's team by a country mile. But you know who was the best offensive player on the team in 2023? Brian Robinson.
Well,
rid of him, right? So, it's one great season is going to keep you here for forever. I would love to keep Laramie Tunsil. Like, I don't want this to be misconstrued like I'm trying to ship him off.
No.
But if somebody gives you a king's ransom for him, you get
multiple
multiple first rounds
exactly,
or a first and 2 seconds or something along those lines, you have to at least answer the phone. So if Cliff is saying that Brandon Coleman is a high-end or he sees him as a high-end starter, I think that does maybe tip their hand to, hey, we think we have something here. Now, I think the immediate pushback would be, well, why hasn't he been starting? Like that would be it because, Chris Paul is a good player. I mean, he's had a really good year. But if you think so highly of Brandon Coleman and if the reason why he missed some time this year was because of an underlying, what you had told us last week was an underlying strength issue, right?
Yeah.
Like there was something going on in the body that they did not feel like he was up to par. Well, if he's back, why didn't he retake the job? So I think that would be my pushback to Cliff of like, you feel so highly about him. I love that, but you had an opportunity to come back in.
I think it speaks to the job that Chris Paul has done more so than anything. But to your point, like I think now that I've done some more digging on that situation, like it's kind of one of those things where you want Brandon Coleman to fight through injuries more than he did, and like as a result, they said, all right, we'll just sit you, get healthy, and now he's never on the injury report. He practices every day. Right. It's almost like the injury stuff is going away. I think as a big boy in this league, you got to understand that, like, you're going to be banged up. It's going to hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't going to feel good. You're in a fight in a phone booth for 60 minutes every week. You're going to get nicked up. It's about how you play through those injuries, man, because everybody plays hurt, especially in the trenches.
Everybody. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do. I did say this last week. If you put the television on mute, and you were not told, and in fairness, I don't know that the broadcast really mentioned it. This is one of the things that sucks about being 4-10. You're not getting the A team.
We're getting a good group today, though. We get a real primetime group.
Thank God. You didn't get the A team last week, so there was really not mentioned that Brandon Coleman had come into the game for Laramie Tunsil in the second half. They mentioned the first half, not in the second half. He played really well last week.
He did.
So I'm excited to see him maybe stack another really strong performance this week and start to build some momentum. At least have one of the young players build some momentum going into 2026. All right, when we get back, our guy Kevin Sheehan's going to jump on with us. He'll give us his thoughts on this matchup and whether or not Washington can make it 2 in a row in the win column. He's Lynnell Willingham. I'm Denton Day. It's a Burning Gold pregame show. It's the Burgundy Gold pregame show with Denton Day and Lynnell Willingham on 106.7 The Fan. We also welcome in the listening audience of the Team 980. Welcome.
What
we
up,
missed
fam?
you for the first 30 minutes of the show. And speaking of Team 980, we might as well bring in the godfather of the Team 980, Kevin Sheehan. He's the host of the Kevin Sheehan Show, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. every Monday through Friday. He joins us now on the pregame show. Kevin, what's your level of excitement for this highly anticipated matchup between the 4-10 Commanders and the 9-5 Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, since I have the underdog plus the 7, it's a high level of anticipation and excitement. So let's go get the cover. But as far as the game goes, not much at all in terms of our team. I mean, just hope nobody of significance gets hurt and hope they play well. They played well last week against a pretty vanilla and a pretty bad Giant team. They got a chance to run the football against Philadelphia without Jalen Carter, and I love the commitment to the run last week. Let's see if Cliff can do it 2 weeks in a row.
All right, so we saw them go to Minnesota, lay an egg. Then they played well against the Giants. We've seen them get waxed, Kevin, just one too many times for my liking this year. What would be your reaction to another 21-plus point loss here? Not even just in this game, but down the stretch at all.
Well, I mean, you're playing the Eagles twice, and the Eagles can clinch the division today, and who knows what they'll be playing for in Week 17, Lynnell. I don't know. Every situation, all year long has been different. Even those 21-point-plus losses were different. The one to the Cowboys wasn't the same as the one to the Seahawks or the Lions. I think out of all of them, the Minnesota was the worst and the most alarming given the opponent, especially with how bad they were defensively. I'm talking about Washington defensively against a team that couldn't score against anybody coming in. Now they played well against Dallas on Sunday night, so maybe they found something against our team. But, they're playing for this, mythical division tournament that Quinn's created as motivation for the team. They've advanced to the second round. They're going to play the Dallas game, whether they win today or not, but it would probably be a loser's bracket game. I don't know, man. I mean, at this point, this season is just so miserable and so simultaneously very difficult to kind of evaluate because of who they've had out there. Our starting quarterback this year played in 3 complete football games as a healthy player. 3 out of 17.
Not very
good luck trying to legitimately evaluate his play. And you'll hear it all off season. You'll hear about how his second year was major regression and a sophomore slump. Just like Aaron Rodgers when he tore his Achilles 4 plays into the season in 2023. They're like, he had a terrible season in New York in 2023. Well, pay attention. He didn't play. Jaden didn't blow out his Achilles in 4 plays, but he played in 3 complete football games as a healthy player. And in the games that he participated in the other 4, we know that there was incredible context in all of them. I move on to next year and don't get anybody else hurt.
Are you excited to see Terry match up against Quinyon Mitchell again?
Not really.
Better be honest, Kev.
I mean, I'm not. I mean, I would imagine that Cliff, after last week, and given how well teams have run against Philadelphia recently, take the Raiders game out of the equation because the Raiders are just terrific, that Marcus Mariota is going to be a big part of the run game again, and that's going to be the way they try to move the football. Will they take shots? I hope they do. But if they're legitimately in this, NFC East mythical tournament that Quinn, put out there all week, and I'm not knocking it. I think it's a great way to motivate his team. They're trying to win the game, and the best way to win the game today is to possess the football and stay ahead of the chains by running the football against a team without their best interior defensive lineman.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. Cliff Kingsbury, Kevin, had some very high praise for Brandon Coleman this week. He said, quote, I think he could be a high-end starter at both the tackle spot and the guard spot in this league. How big of an opportunity is this for him today?
Big one. He really made the most of it last week. He stepped in, and there wasn't much of a difference. And look, that's the big takeaway from this year. If your glass is half full on this year, and you're looking for something to be positive about. They have an offensive line.
Yeah.
They found Chris Paul because of Brandon Coleman's ineffectiveness early on, and maybe unreadiness early on. And Tunsil turned out to be exactly as advertised, an elite level pass blocking left tackle. Cosme came back and played well. Biotish was solid again. Your starting five with Brandon, with Coleman as a potential, swing tackle guard. I mean, he can play almost anywhere, is really encouraging heading into next year. You don't have to focus on that in the offseason. Maybe more depth because I'm sure Allegretti and Wiley won't be back. But, yeah, big opportunity for him, as was last week. And certainly their edge defenders and their pass rush is right now the strength of that defense along with their coverage, because they've been a little bit lacking against the run without Carter.
Who gets the bulk of the carries offensively for Washington?
What'd you say?
Who gets the bulk of the carries for the Commanders today?
Well, I mean, last week was the highest number of rushes in the season, the 37 attempts. It was the highest rushing total of running backs in a game at 27. If you can get something like that, I'd love to see this week Rodriguez get the first opportunity since he didn't play last week, and I'd love to see what it looks like with him at, somewhere around 18-plus carries, with Bill at somewhere around 10. Right around there. You don't need McNichols except in the third down situations this week. But I'd like to see Rodriguez. We saw Billy. He was good last week. He was outstanding against not a very good defensive team, the 31st ranked rush defense in the league. The one thing about him, guys, I don't know if you've talked about it, and you probably will at some point on your new show. Congratulations to both of you. You know how excited I am for both of you. But I'd like to see Bill make that third level of the defense miss. He had a couple of opportunities last week, and that's the piece that he's still missing.
Yeah, got to protect the football too, right? Like that's the other thing that's really killed him to this point. No Colson Yankoff. If Lawrence Cager gets more targets than Ben Sinnott today, what would be your reaction?
Well, Suter, who's been phenomenal doing film breakdown for me this year, he thought Sinnott really blocked well last week. He was very impressed with Sinnott with the most snaps he's had. Certainly this year, it may have been ever, and said that, a little bit more polish in the route running area, and he's got a chance to be a good player. We'll see. But, yeah, I would love to see Sinnott featured. I'd love to see a lot of the young guys, that they haven't had a chance to see. I don't know if that even applies to anybody at this point, because they've gone through a practice squad and a half this year of players getting opportunities. But Yankoff they like, obviously, as a pass receiver, especially when he lines up at fullback.
I'll ask you a very similar question with a very different player. There's no Eddie Goldman today in the defensive line, which means theoretically that should mean Johnny Newton gets more action today. Are we excited about the potential of maybe some plays from a guy that they told us they would have drafted in the first round? Sure.
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple of guys that from last year's draft we still don't know. I don't know. Let me speak for myself. I don't know for sure about, and Johnny Newton would be the one that's trended away from, just wait a little bit longer and let's see, because it's been very inconsistent at best. And you could say that, about, Sinnott for sure. And even, Luke and McCaffrey and Sanders still to a certain degree. Although I like Sanders still the way he's played the last few weeks. But yeah, I'd love to see Johnny Newton. But Johnny Newton isn't, a beefy 320-pound nose tackle, eat up double team run stoppers. He's a guy that can use his athleticism to make plays as a pass rusher. Let's see that a couple of times against, by the way, a quarterback that will tend to protect and hold the ball rather than force it.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see. And for the game, this game in particular, when you look at Mikey Samerson, and I know I asked you about him during the week and just the type of opportunity he has here down the stretch. Put the game to the side, I guess. How comfortable would you be with him and Amos coming in next year as your starting corner duo?
you got to tell me who the defensive coordinator is going to be and what they're going to do defensively, schematically, because I think that's going to drive a lot of the defensive, off-season personnel decisions.
Sure.
Will they change up the way they play defense? Did they learn something? What took them so long to learn that they, don't have a man coverage unit? They certainly didn't this year. That's for sure. We're going to see, Lynnell, right from the jump, a strategic move with respect to whomever it is that comes in to lead this defense. Is it going to be a Quinn-style defense led by Quinn and his principles, or is it going to be somebody completely different? My preference at this point, given how much of a struggle it's been defensively for now 2 straight seasons, and yes, they were down a lot of key players this year, but I still think ultimately the defense was not going to be significantly improved, even if Armstrong and Wise and Amos and Lattimore and the whole crew that ended up being lost, even if they played. They may have been a little bit better against the run, as edge run stoppers, but it wasn't going to be a great defense. I'm going to be curious to see what they do there, because that'll drive personnel decisions.
Yeah.
You've got 5 to 6 starter types that you need to add defensively through free agency and the draft, but they're going to have to, look at players based on how they think they can play with what they have and the scheme that'll be employed. It's going to be a really interesting decision to see what direction they go in defensively, because it has not worked, and they have been absolutely, split open by Shanahan-style offensive football teams, which, oh, by the way, happens to be much of the league.
Kevin, what camp do you find yourself in? Are you at the I don't care, I just want to win these final 3 games, or are you more concerned with draft positioning?
I mean, 2 games ago, I wanted Jaden to play the rest of the games. I wanted them to win out. So without Jaden playing, I'm jaded the rest of the way. I certainly wouldn't mind that when we get to April, late April, and they're picking, they have the highest possible pick. At the same time, I don't want to see 3 straight hideous Minnesota, Detroit, Seattle kind of losses to end the season. I don't think that's helpful either. We're not in the midst of a regime change. We're not going to get a whole new group in here. We're not in the quarterback market like we've been in previous years. It would be interesting, let me just mention this, if somehow they pulled it off today, I would just love to see Philly lose next week, and then I'd be rooting for Dallas, because I'd want it to come down to the final week of the season where we could potentially knock Philly out. That would be
that'd be fun.
All of their mouthing about how last year was completely flukish, and they can stand on that. At 4-10 for our season this year, wouldn't it be interesting if somehow it came down to the final week of the season and they needed to beat us to win the division or be out of the playoffs? That'd be interesting, but it would give us something to get excited about, because these games are totally meaningless right now.
Yeah, it sucks, man. Trying to just pull from anything to see if you can create a storyline. It is the cupboard is bare in terms of talking points. We'll get you out of here on this. What do you like in terms of a prediction here? I know your money is on the +7, but what do you think happens?
Yeah, I mean, I like the +7. I don't think they'll win, but I think something like 20-15, 20-16, something like that. Philly doesn't score, a lot. And they punt more than a lot of really good teams. And against Washington, the last thing they're going to try to do is, take a lot of risks. And they're going to try to win the way they've won a lot of games over the last few years, which is with defense and not turning the ball over. And if they play that way, it could be, a close game. But ultimately, Philly wants to end it right here and clinch the division today, and I think they will. But I think it'll be closer than most people think.
Kevin, appreciate it as always. Enjoy this one.
Congrats, boys.
Appreciate it.
Kev.
That is Kevin Sheehan. You can hear him on the Kevin Sheehan Show, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. every Monday through Friday on the Team 980. When we get back, we will make our predictions. We'll give you some keys to a win for Washington. He's Lynnell Willingham. I'm Denton Day. It's the Burgundy and Gold pregame show on 106.7 The Fan of the Team 980. It's the Burgundy Gold pregame show with Lynnell, Willingham, and Denton Day. We're about 10 minutes away from kickoff at Northwest Stadium. Eagles, Commanders. Can Washington play a little bit of spoiler, maybe delay the inevitable?
Right.
Some stuff would really have to go sideways for Philadelphia to lose the division, including the Commanders beating them twice.
Yeah.
But it feels like you're feeling good after what you saw last week.
I am.
Kevin's feeling good. He's taking them to cover the 7.
I don't know if they'll cover the 7. Gosh, part of me wants to pick them to win. I just don't. Philly's lost their mojo. I think they're a swaggerless group right now. I think there's infighting going on.
They are very low in swagger. A lot of that stems from their quarterback, who is just massively annoying.
I literally can't stand anyone more than I can't stand Jalen Hurts.
His quotes are so. I just want to ram my head.
He's probably the biggest fraud in the National Football League.
Just the biggest one.
Mr. Perfect is what they call him. I call him the passenger because he routinely gets carried. But no, I think for Washington today, their ability to run the football really, and then getting Mariota involved and having to account for him could really give Philadelphia some problems. Their traditional run defense hasn't been very good. Add a rushing threat at quarterback to the equation, and maybe things go totally sideways for this group. Their cornerback, too, has been an issue. Cooper DeJean has played on the inside. He's played on the outside. He's good. Quinyon Mitchell is good. I guess their cornerback 3 is, the issue. Can Washington exploit that with their full cast of weapons out there? Can you get Terry McLaurin in some favorable matchups? Can you get Debo lined up on a slot guy? Like, their defense isn't that good, is my overall kind of talking point. What I do worry about is our run defense. I mean, they still got everybody but Lane Johnson, so I do worry about their ability to get moved.
I mean, they are going to be steamrolled at times, potentially going up against a really good offensive line. I would just remind everybody, maybe people have forgotten, and maybe it's just out of sight, out of mind. The season ended last year, not just against Philadelphia, but it ended with Quinyon Mitchell picking off Jaden in the end zone and doing the Terry celebration in front of Terry McLaurin. Like, we don't think about that now because the team's 4-10, and you're not like, I'm not approaching this game with the amount of vitriol that I would if this.
I just got a handshake emoji from my resident Eagles fan.
Eesh.
My guy Scrap just sent me a handshake emoji, so he's fired up about it, even though we suck. So
good for him.
I'm just got a text -17.5.
Maybe he's
which I may put in. Look.
Maybe he's talking about Ole Miss and Tulane. But that was the last time that we saw these two teams on the field together, was Quinyon Mitchell doing the Terry celebration.
Yeah.
And the Terry celebration, low-key, is like one of the best in the NFL. Like, the scary, like, it's perfect. It fits the brand.
It's elite.
You can do it literally anywhere. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration as well. So maybe, though, most of us don't really care about that, I would be willing to bet that Terry McLaurin very much cares about that. And that very much is going to influence the way that he wants to perform today.
It should. I think Washington should have a chip on their shoulder going into this one. I know there are some guys that are not here anymore, obviously, that played in that NFC Championship game. But to your point, like, it felt chippy. It felt like disrespectful. The whole tush-push thing with Frankie Louvu jumping over the pile the way that he did. One more time. It's going to be Washington's first time. I don't think anyone mentioned it all week long, this whole angle of how does Washington going to guard the tush push this year, right? Like,
you're so bad this year that nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
But like, we don't really care about guarding the tush push. It doesn't matter.
Hopefully they play good enough defense to where Philly isn't in tush push situation.
I was going to say the problem with the tush push situation is I don't know that they're going to play good enough defense to keep them in the tush push scenario.
That's the tough part about all of this. It's going to be fascinating to see, man. I think they compete today. As far as an official prediction, give me. I said I was going to pick Washington.
I was going to say you came in here not overly confident, but you were feeling good.
I do, and I feel like I'm about to get sat the hell down.
Potentially.
Give me Philadelphia. I think they win on a walk-off field goal. Give me Philadelphia 27-24. How about that?
27-24.
27-24.
So that's a big scoring output in the ball game. I am not nearly as optimistic as you. Not nearly. I do think that Philadelphia is going to score a bunch of points. I'm hoping this does not end up being a 21-point blowout.
That would be tough.
But I think it might be a 17-point blowout. I got the final score
Are you playing the 17.5?
I'm not playing the
just...
17.5. Although I will. I might check that payout.
Yeah.
Can I do that real quick? Yeah, we got like a minute here. What would a payout be if Philadelphia laying 17? Because I got
minus 9.5 is plus 122.
I would have Philadelphia winning this game 34-17. I think there's going to be a lot of offense from Philadelphia, and I do think Washington will give you some good things, but I am not massively swung by a good game against a bad team. Because Washington was still in a position last week to lose against the Giants, and the Giants suck. Yeah. Like, that is an objectively bad football team. Let's see if I can.
I think our ability to be good in the trenches, hopefully. You know, then like Philly's not going to punk us up front, and the Bears O-line moved them.
It did.
I think our O-line is good enough to do that without Tunsil. I rock with Brandon Coleman, so I think we can get some movement.
I think you can definitely move them.
I'm literally sitting here pressing buttons as I make each comment.
I'm more concerned with, is Cliff going to stay consistent with the run?
Well, he better, or else Marcus Mariota is going to get ripped alive.
He's going to get ripped alive. By the way, minus 17 is plus 300. I was hoping for a little bit better numbers.
That's not bad, though.
Yeah, I mean,
that is not bad.
If I'm big game hunting like that, I would want a little bit more. All right, we're going to be back for the halftime and the postgame show. It'll be live on Twitter and YouTube, so come hang out with us there. It's got to be fun. We're in the holiday season, so even if the team sucks, we'll at least give you a little bit of cheer. That's Lynnell Willingham. I'm Denton Day. We'll see you in about 90 minutes at halftime on 106.7 of the Team 980.